This video is in response to the meme "Be a Girl" or hashtag "Be a Girl They Said." I'm going to go over the two kinds of women in our society. All women who have sex are divided into these two categories of women. And when I go over these two categories of women, you'll recognize them right away. And this meme, "Be a Girl" or "Be a Girl They Said," goes over the contradictions that our society, the dichotomies that women have to live by in our societies. And essentially, that's what my book's been about, Relationships 101, in which the goal was to enlighten women and emancipate and enlighten men and women as to pertaining relationships and what about relationships that stop them from having the best relationships that they can have. I'm talking about in a philosophical standpoint. I'm talking about the evolutionary psychology of how relationships has come to be the way it is to be today. Women in our society are divided into two kinds. On one hand is a woman who does things for her own reasons. Now, this is women who have sex. Women who don't have sex or has never had sex are not included in this, but eventually they will. And when they do, they will be divided into these two categories. There's only two categories of women who have sex. On the one hand is a woman who has sex for her own reasons. She does things for her own reasons. And perhaps she has sex with a man because she wants to, for any reason, whatever reason that is. Maybe she's bored. Maybe she wants to have fun. Maybe she finds him cute and alluring and endearing and sweet. Maybe she reminds him of somebody. Maybe she's bored. Maybe she's ovulating. Maybe she's up for a trip and she just wants to do something in town. Whatever it is, and she doesn't want anything in exchange for sex. Here's the key. She doesn't want anything in return for sexual activity. Her peers, her sisters, her aunts, and women around her will call her, she is not respectable. They will say, you're giving it away for nothing. You have no self-respect. You are a disrespectable person. You have sex for nothing in return. You don't want a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. You don't want a marriage. You're just having sex with him for fun. You're just having sex with him for nothing in return. You're just having sex with him because you want to. You like him. He's cute, or just for the time being. Whatever it is, you have no self-respect because you don't want something in return. They decry her. They guilt her. And they will yell at her. Now that's a woman who has sex for nothing in return. And on the other hand is a woman who only has sex for something in return. And there's a name we call a woman who only has sex for something in return. Now when we go back to the woman who only has sex for something in return, what's the name that immediately comes into mind? What's the name that immediately comes into your mind describing a woman who is someone who has sex for nothing in return, maybe briefly, maybe momentarily, whatever it is, for her own reasons. Maybe because she wants to have fun. Maybe she's just bored. Maybe she likes him for whatever reason. Maybe she's ovulating. What do you call that woman? There's a nasty, evil four-letter word that women call women who has sex for nothing in return. Some people say, when I talk to women, they say, "Oh, prostitute." No, I'm not professionally, not commercially. I'm saying personally. Nothing, no monetary exchange. And they eventually come to the word slut. Okay, so I think if a man were to do that, if a man was, on the other hand, were to sleep with as many women as he'd like for nothing in return, he's not called a slut. He's called a stud, or whatever the case is. So it's a little bit weird. Now, on the other hand, if there's some woman who has sex for nothing in return, then there's the other woman who only has sex for something in return. Hold on one second. I just had to get my eggs. On the one hand, is a woman who only has sex for something in return, only has sex for value. What do you call a woman who only has sex for value? These are the two dichotomies of women. Women are in a double bind in our society. They either damned if I do, damned if I don't. Either I have sex for no reason, or sex for whatever reason I want and nothing in return, or I have sex for something in return, only in return. There's a nasty word we call a woman who only has sex for something in return, whether it's a woman who has sex because the man gave her a car, maybe he paid for her rent, maybe he paid for her taxes, maybe he paid for her trip to Jamaica or to Asia or to Europe, or he gave her $500. What do you call a woman who only has sex for value? Well, some people call her, a prostitute or a whore. Okay, so in our society, there are two kinds of women who only have sex for something in return. There is a low status and a high status. Low status is, well, the society says, well, at least she's charging for it. And then the high status is the one that's revered in our society. This one will only have sex for something in return, and that something in return is a lifetime. She will provide exclusive access to her sex for a lifetime access of security for her and her offspring. What do you call a woman that only provides sex exclusively to her man for the return of security for the rest of her life along with her offspring? They also call her a nasty, evil four-letter word. Do you know what that word is? That's right, a wife. Now, I'm not saying a wife or a whore or a prostitute or a slut are bad people. I have lots of friends who are wives, who are whores, who are prostitutes. For all intents and purposes, that's what you'd call them, or a slut. I love all of them. I love every single one of them. I have girlfriends who are sluts, who are whores, who are prostitutes, who are wives. I love them all. I love women. But women, alas, find themselves in this dichotomy in our society. Either they are decried as sluts or whores, or they are praised as wives. And so our society has something called a sexual cartel. A cartel is an oligopoly. It is a set of entities which agree upon a particular price because they sell the same product. For example, the OPEC, oil-producing exporting countries, back in the day, where they sell the same oil, and so they agree upon the same price for the oil. Otherwise, someone would always undercut the other people to sell it for a better price. For example, if you and I were to sell the same product, sugar, if you were to start a cartel, we would say, hey, we sell the same product. If you sell yours for, $30 a pound, and I sell mine for $30 a pound, and we don't undercut each other, then we can make a profit. But of course, in cartels, someone always undercuts somebody, and that's why wars start. Just like in OPEC. That's like back then when the Saudi Arabia wars. In our society, there is a sexual cartel. It's a little bit heinous. It's an unspoken but understood set of rules in our society. They don't talk about it, but they definitely know it. These rules in our society, you should not undercut the sexual cartel. The sexual cartel is if you sell sex, if you exchange sex for less than the price of security, we will decry you. We will really, really be angry at you. We will do things to scorn you. We will do things to guilt you, to shame you. If you provide sex to the other person, whether you're for free, we'll call you a slut. If you provide sex for the other person for anything less than the price of security, or any price at all, for that matter, well, you are a bad person and you are undercutting the cartel. Do you see now how crazy this is, that women in our society, they're divided into two kinds. Either you have sex for no reason at all, for your own, and you have no self-respect. But if a man were to have sex for no reason whatsoever, they don't say you have no self-respect. They say you're good for you, good on you. And then there's a woman who only has sex for value. And there's a name, there's a word we call someone who has sex for value. And then there's a sexual cartel who is agreed upon unspoken but appreciated and understood rules that women will be decried from our society if they're undercut the cartel. So here's what I say to you, being a woman and being a man. Recognize this. Recognize that security is something you create only for yourself and no one else. It's something you create for yourself. There is no such thing as security. Security is just a sensation. Security is just a feeling. It's a feeling. There is no security when you are sitting, no matter how many billions you have in the bank, and you're sitting on a plane and the plane is crashing into the earth 600 miles per hour. No amount of trillions or billions of dollars will provide you security. You can be one of the richest men in the world. You could be someone who's 54 years old and develop pancreatic cancer with more money than the government in his bank could be cashed right away, like Steve Jobs was, and have no security. Security is just a sensation. It's just whatever you can do for yourself to survive and influence other people to help you if you need it, and align with people when you need it. Security is something you create for yourself. So women, recognize how crazy this sexual cartel is. Do what you like for your own reasons. Provide for your own security and be happy. And men, recognize this about women and cut them some slack. When women have to operate in this dichotomy where either they do what they like for their own reasons or they only have sex for something in return, you go a little bit crazy. You know how women seem crazy? Well, you go a little bit crazy when you have to operate in rules which don't make sense by nature. So cut them some slack. And in fact, propagate this message and read my book so you can develop what kind of relationships can you actually have with someone with this dynamic in place. What relationship can you build around it? Read my book, Relationships 101. Go on Amazon, search Ron John, Relationships 101. And I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you read it below. Let me know in the comments, and like and share this video and share this with other people and propagate the message that we have here. And cut women some slack. And women, recognize that you are free, that security is something only you can provide. All right, I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.